this lesson, I'm going to share with you an extremely simple and effective way to play the blues changes with just 2 fingers. This simple little technique can be used to play through chord changes in a band situation, or even used as a springboard to start diving deeper into nailing the chord changes in your soloing. It's simple, but sounds great and is super effective. Let's jump in. The great Telecaster master, Danny Gatton, once named this approach the 2-note wonder. Others have called it guide tones, dyads, and even others just look at it as chord tone targeting. But although seemingly simple, this approach can lead to sounding way more sophisticated and nailing the chord changes. Today, we're gonna play the 12-bar blues in the key of G. A brief intro on the classic 12-bar blues progression. So we'll have 1 bar of G7, 1 bar C7, 2 bars of G7, then 2 bars of C7, 2 bars of G7 again, and then for this version, a little classic straightforward turnaround of D7, C7, and then let's go ahead and we have a little quick G7 for 2 beats, C7 for 2 beats, G7 for 2 beats, and D7 for 2 beats each chord. This will really get us using this little dyad really nicely at the end there. So that basic blues progression is just using our 1, 4, and 5 chords, and all of these are dominant 7ths. Many of us would go straight toward a classic bar chord shape, like I just played. But this is oftentimes what I would call too much information. It just has too many notes and it takes up too much space in the mix. This can really get in the way of a band sound, especially if there are keys, another guitar player. So first, before I show you this little dyad, let's take a full look at what notes are in a full G7 chord. So G is gonna be the 1, B is the 3rd, D is the 5th, and since this is a dominant 7th chord, we have a flat 7, which is F. Now, if you take this big chord shape and have a look in the middle here, the middle 2 strings, we have a 3rd and a flatted 7th there on the D and G strings. This little shape is literally all you need in order for the listener to hear the chord changes. So for those of you interested in what this little interval is called, this is called the tritone. And it actually used to be known as the devil's interval several hundred years ago. It's pretty commonplace in our music now, but those old church composers 400 years ago would freak out if they heard me using this. The beautiful thing about getting access to the other 2 chords in the 12-bar blues progression is that you literally just move this little tritone down a half step towards the headstock of the guitar, and you get the 3rd and the flat 7 of the C chord. So C7 has a C is the 1, E is the 3rd, G is the 5th, and B flat, that's your flatted 7th. So we're getting our E on the D string, which is the 3rd, and the B flat on the G here. It's amazingly simple. That will work for that C7 chord. And remember, there are tons of songs that even just use a 1 dominant to 4 dominant chord. A great example is Feelin' Alright by Joe Cocker, or even Mercy, Mercy, Mercy by Joe Zawinul. We need to grab the 3rd and the flatted 7th of the 5 chord as well, and it's amazingly convenient. It's literally just 1 fret above the notes of the G7 chord. So where we started before, that 3rd and 4th fret, the notes of the D7 are gonna be D is the root, F sharp is the 3rd, A is the 5th, and C is that flatted 7th. So we're gonna get the F sharp on the D string right there at the 4th fret, and we're gonna get the C on the G string there at the 5th fret. Now let's put this in context over the backing track. It's amazingly simple and it sounds awesome. This little interval, the 2-note wonder, it doesn't get in any of the other band members' way, and you can literally strum, pluck, and decorate it how you like. You might have seen me kind of doing some slides from a half step below. I might even walk from a whole step on any of them. Sounds pretty cool. Or even a half step above. It sounds really great. You might ask, how does this even work if you're not playing the root note of the chord? The cool thing is, typically the bass player, like in the track I was playing over, or the keys, or another guitarist, will be playing the root of the chord. And like many things in music, our ear hears it and kind of intuits the band as a whole producing the chords, and so you still hear that root motion. This is such a good technique for not only blues, but many styles. It can be really important to just play smaller parts of chords. So like even if you're fretting like a big bar chord somewhere on a song, if you choose to play only portions of the chords, this will really help, everything from getting muddy. So far, we've really only used this 2-note wonder as a rhythm player, but you could totally use this technique to help you nail the chord changes as a soloist also. Let me demonstrate how I might use it to just target the chord changes as they go by. I'll use mostly the G minor pentatonic scale in box 1. And then I'll target the chord tones by using these 2-note wonders for the different chords. Now you might notice that I tend to play a little bit outside of the regular box patterns, and that's because I have developed a favorite way to play the pentatonic scale, and it's by using the diagonal pentatonic. It's so much my favorite that I've actually made an incredible and in-depth course about it. So go ahead and click the link below and you can grab 40% off my diagonal pentatonic method, or you could use the code 2-note wonder, and you'll see your playing across the guitar neck skyrocket with this incredibly effective method. It's amazing how simple using the pentatonic scale and targeting your 2-note wonders for each chord can be. So rather than chasing the chord tones around and trying to play full arpeggios, you can get straight to the meat and potatoes by just landing on these guide tones. So I'll show you a little example about how I might play a little minor pentatonic lick, but then land on one of the notes of the 2-note wonder. So if I were playing on the G chord, I might play something in box 1, or even shift up into my little diagonal. And when I'm playing over that chord, I know that F is in my classic pentatonic, but the note that's kind of cool that is not is this B note. So I might surround, and I might land on that B as a target over the G7 chord. If I were playing over the C7 chord, the B flat of the C7, which is in our little guide tone, it's already in that G minor pentatonic scale. So I can target that, yes, but the even cooler note to target is the E. It really sounds like I'm nailing that chord change over the C. And then I can do a similar thing for the D7 as well. Now I notice that inside of the D7 chord, I have a C. That's in my minor pentatonic as well. So the note that I want to target to kind of really show, oh, I'm on that chord, is this interesting F sharp, which is not in the minor pentatonic scale. Now it sounds really great when you're playing over the track. When I'm playing by myself, it's not necessarily the perfect sound. Because as we said, there's no other part of the band who's playing kind of the The root notes are the rest of the chord. But what I challenge you to do is take these concepts and apply them to the backing track that you can download below. Now that you have your two-note wonder, aka guide tones together, make sure to watch this video next.